Okay, welcome back. So we're going to continue with the same sheet, and we're at the top of page 86. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the chart design, and this is basically where we left off in the last video. So in this case, let's click on D11, which is Q3 for Malaysia, and we're going to put in 5568.92 and hit enter. And then we're going to type in 7107.09 and hit enter. So basically what we did is we updated Q3 for Malaysia and we updated Q3 for the United States, and you can see that they're already reflected, those changes are reflected here. Okay, so what the next step is, step number 2, it says select the chart by clicking a blank area within the chart border. So I'm just going to click up here and select the chart. Now you know the chart is selected because those little handles show up as well as our data is highlighted. We're going to click Chart Tools in the Design tab. So we'll go up here to Design, and we're going to click on Chart Tools. And then we're going to go to the Quick Layout button, so that's this one over here. And we're going to go to Layout Style number 3. Right? And you could see how it looks, but does this look really good? The problem with this is that because there's white space in between the different columns, it makes it a lot harder to see which one goes with which country. So we decided we're going to go back. So if you actually click it, you could then hit the backup button over here, undo at the top, and it will bring us back to what we had before. So we said, you know what, instead of changing the chart look, we're going to change the chart style. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on it, we're going to go up to design again, and we're going to go where it says change chart type up here at the top. We're going to click that, and it's going to give us a whole bunch of different options which you can go through and look at all the different ways you could format the chart. We're going to click on bar, and then we're going to hit OK. So now we're up to stage 5. So I'm just going to reshift the chart a little bit. I'll make it a little bigger so you can see it better. Now basically what it did is instead of having columns, so with those up and down lines, it flipped it on the side, and now we have United States here on the side, and we have a bar chart that goes out this way, and we can measure all the bars, and this is our x-axis, right? Now, like we had it before was a little smaller like this. It makes it harder to see the lines because it condenses the chart, and you'll notice that some of the labels disappeared as well, just because there wasn't enough room to stick them. So now I have everything showing, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to hit change chart type again, and we'll look at a different kind of chart. This time, we're going to go to column, right? What we're going to do is we're going to pick 3D clustered column. Okay, so this is the 3D stacked. Oh, there we go, 3D clustered. Okay, and then we're going to hit OK. And what this shows you is you'll notice it's 3D, so there's that little bit of they pop out a bit, right? And it's the same thing that we had before, except this side, on the y-axis, we have the numbers, and on the x-axis, we have the names of the countries. Okay, so now we're going to go back and change it again. I'm going to click on it. We'll click on Design, change chart type, and this time we're going to click on Clustered Column. There we go, the first one, and we're going to press OK. This is going to bring us back to what we had originally. Then I'm going to go to Chart Styles, so we'll go over here to Quick Layout, and we're going to go to, oh no, I'm sorry, we'll click over here. This is Chart Styles, and we can look at all the different options. And we're going to pick this one, which is Chart Styles 3. But if you just go through them, you'll notice that we could use the same chart, but format it many different ways, right? Depending on which style we like. So I'm going to go with number 3. I'm going to press OK. And then we're going to go back once more, just to reset it to the way it should be. And we're going to press Save and press OK. Okay, next we're going to do a really simple example of how to look at two really different numbers but put them on the same chart. So in our store we sell apples and we sell cars, like apples like the fruit. So $200 of apples may not seem like a lot, right? But that's actually many apples, but maybe we sell luxury cars, so we only sold 3 cars, right? But that equaled $200,000. So these are the totals for both of our apples and our cars for these 3 months. Now, if we try to put those onto a chart, so I'll just go to Insert Recommended Charts, and we'll take a look at some of the options. Now, you'll notice that January, February, and March has these red lines. Let's just make it, we'll just make the chart, and I'll spread it out a little bit so you can see it better. Now, you'll notice that even though this chart should have a column here for apples, because apple numbers are so small compared to these really big numbers, you can't even see it, right? So what we want is, instead of having one axis on the side and one on the bottom, we want a chart with three axes, one on this side and one on the other side. Okay, and that is called a combo chart. So let me get rid of this. We'll go back to our data. I'm going to press where it says Insert, and I'll go to Combo Chart. Now, this kind of looks like what we had before, but this one, you'll notice it's really different. Okay, so this combo chart, let's just stretch it out. So it's telling us that apples, which is the blue lines, is how much we sold, and it goes according to this scale. Now, cars, which is the red line, goes according to this scale. So for example, at this point over here, it means that we sold around $300 of apples, but that means we sold over $300,000 in cars. So even though they're both sales and they work on completely different scales, we could take a look and say, oh, in February we did better selling apples and we did better selling cars. In January and in March, not so great. In January we sold like their same starting point, the same kind of baseline for apples and cars. However, cars underperformed compared to apples in March, right, in our third time period. So this is a really good way to compare data which doesn't work on the same scale but needs to be compared together. And you could read more about that in the yellow box at the bottom of page 86. Okay, just one more note. We talked about, if you look at the box at the bottom of page 87, which is about creating 3D charts, and that's easy. All we do is go Insert, Recommended Charts, and we can pick a chart, let's say one of these, and this will give us a 3D stack column. So let's pick one of these, right? Now, again, this has the same problem. Because we're not looking at it as a combo, you really can't see how high apples are and compared to cars. But besides that problem, you'll notice that now they're 3D and we can move these around and they have a depth to them with a shadow, which is quite different than the kind of chart that we have over here. Okay, so let's continue and we will pick it up on page 88. Okay, so on this page what we're going to do is change the format of the chart. So let's go to step number 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on Add Chart Element button. So let's click on the chart. And we'll go up here and we'll click where it says Add Chart Element up at the top. And we're going to go to Grid Lines down here. And then we're going to click on Primary, Major, Horizontal. Right, so we have that selected. Now you'll notice right now, you see those lines on our chart running this way horizontally? If we go to Grid Lines, we have it selected. We could also choose Vertical. We could do horizontal with big lines and small lines, and this just helps you see how high is the line exactly. And here we have a grid, right? So let's unselect it, and now all of our lines disappear in a chart, right? Next, let's go to Chart Elements button. So we're going to go back over here. Over here. You see when you click on the chart, there's this little green plus that shows up. We're going to click over there. And this lets you quickly add all the different chart elements. And what we're going to do is we're going to click the Grid Lines arrow right over here. So now it turns back on Grid Lines. And then let's go over here. We can click on Primary, Major, Horizontal. We're also going to press Primary, Minor, Horizontal. So that's this one. So we get the big thick lines and the smaller lines above it. And then we'll press plus to close those windows. So now you see, if you look carefully on the chart, in the background we have the big thick lines, which are major, let's say 7 to 8,000 line. That's what each one measures 1,000. But we also have these smaller lines inside, which looks like they measure in increments of 200. But it will basically divide up the line depending on what the numbers are. Okay, so now we're up to step 3. We're going to click on the chart again. We're going to hit the plus button. And this time we're going to click on Axis Titles checkbox. Okay, over here, I'm going to check that. And we're going to triple click the vertical axis title on the chart. And then type expenses. So let's go triple click. There we go. And now we could change this. I'm just going to highlight it. And let's type in expenses. bracket in dollars. Now, it's a little tricky because you're typing sideways, so it might take a couple tries to get used to the triple clicking. There we go. Okay, how does that look? Now, for the bottom, we're going to go to our countries at the bottom. So we'll just double click on here. This opens up. I'm going to highlight everything, and I'm just going to change that to tour countries. Now, give this a couple tries to see if you can easily change the different labels. But you'll notice that now when you look at the chart, right away you're like, okay, I get that this part is expenses in dollars and this part is tour countries. Because sometimes it's confusing by what numbers you're showing, and it's really good to have those axis labels there to explain what you're doing. Okay, so now we're at step number 5. So let's click on the horizontal axis labels, like where it says Australia, etc., right in there. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Font in the shortcut menu. Okay, so we click on the label. We go up to Home, and then we click on Font over here, and they want us to change it to Times New Roman, size 8. So it says Calibri when I type it. I'm just going to type in Times, there we go, and it found Times New Roman, and I'm going to press the little A once to decrease, and it goes to number 8, or I could just select number 8. And you'll notice down here, the font changes on our list, and it's a different size. Now you'll notice also, because the United States is smaller, no longer does it show up on 2 lines, but it only shows up on 1 line. Okay, so the next step, now we're in step number 6. I'm going to right click on the vertical label that's over here. I'm going to press where it says Reset to Match Style. Okay, so now we're going to click on the title up here, and then we're going to click on Format Chart Title on the shortcut menu. Sorry, that's over here. You click on the title, you right click, and you go to Format Chart Title. Perfect. And here we go. So now we're going to press the border arrow, and we're going to click on the solid line option in the pane. So that's this one over here. We'll hit where it says solid line. And now if you look, that it's going to change to default blue, and it's going to put a solid box around the chart. So we'll deselect everything. Now you see it shows up like that. Okay. So now we're going to click on the Effects button, which is this one over here. And we're going to click on Shadow. And we're going to press Presets up here. And we're going to pick the one that says Offset, Diagonal, Bottom, and Outer Group. So it's the first row, first from the left. So first row, is that the right one? Nope, we want bottom right. Aha. Offset, Diagonal, Bottom right. And we're going to click on here. All right. And now we're going to close the chart. Okay, so now if you look at our box, you see it has that shadow behind it, right? So we gave it a border and we gave it a shadow. And that's it for page 88. That's the bottom of the last step. Okay, so now we're starting at the top of page 90. We're going to format the chart to make it easier to understand. We're going to go through some of the things to change it a little bit. Start at step number 1. Let's select the chart like this, and then we're going to click on the Chart Tools Format tab. So that's over here. And then we're going to click, I'm just going to turn this on so we could keep it there, right? And then we're going to click on any column in Q4 data series, right? So that's the purples. Now you'll notice that all the purples are now selected, right? So we're going to click on the Shape Fill, that's up here, and it's going to ask us for our color. So we're going to pick Orange Accent 6. That's this one, right? First row, 10th from the left, or maybe that one. I think that's better. Okay, now we're going to click on any column in the quarter 3 series. So that quarter 3, you can see over here is green. So we're going to click on the greens, and then we're going to click on the More button in the Shapes gallery. So that's over here. And we're going to go to where it says Moderate Effect Olive Green Accent 3. 5th row, 4th from the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think it's that one. Perfect. And now it says click Subtle Effect Olive Green Shape 3 Style, like we did, and we'll save your work. So now let's click off of it. Now you'll notice that we changed the color over here for quarter 4 to orange, so it's a solid orange. But if you look carefully, in quarter 3, it now has like an effect, like a shade that goes through it. Let's add that effect to quarter 4, just maybe we could see it better. We'll go to here, and we'll pick one of these. Let's see. Let's stick with orange. Okay, so if you look, we now have like a shadow on the line. So it makes it a little more visually interesting than a solid line, and maybe it makes the data that you're trying to do stand out more or less and so on, right? So it just depends on how you want to format it. So that's the end of this video. We're on page number 90. One fast note is if you click at the bottom over here, we could look at how it's going to look on the page. Here it got cut off, right? Which is not good. A little bit of the chart is printing on the next page. So what we can do is we can go back to page layout and set it to be 1 page wide. Okay, so then everything will show on the same page. It might shrink it a lot. It just depends. It depends on the width of the height, depending on your particular needs. Let's go back to normal view. And that's it for this video. So next we're going to pick up on page number 92, annotate and draw on a chart.